Hello, class, and welcome back to the part two of the Old Testament telephone number. I am Professor Babel, and today we're going to continue our discussion on the structure of the Bible and the Old Testament. Little Keith Pringle for you. 1980. So just to summarize what we were talking about, don't forget you can call them up on the Old Testament telephone number. We were talking briefly, all right, stop that. We were talking briefly about the structure of the Bible and the Old Testament. So we understand now that the first five books in the Old, this is the number of the Old Testament. This number represents the structure of the Old Testament. Remember, there is the Bible was not just thrown together. It actually represents a particular structure, subject matter, thematic. First five books we talked about were the basic law. If you want to know about marriage, if you want to know about any foundational law principle, you look at the first five books. The next nine books happen to deal with the pre-exile history. So this is the history, your 12 tribes of Israel, 10 in the north. Remember Sunday school? The northern tribes were captured by the Assyrians. They had 19 kings, 0 righteous. They went first. Southern tribes, they had 2. They had 8 righteous kings, so they kind of hung out a little bit. They didn't go to captivity till like almost 130 years later. God delayed the impending judgment because there was some righteous there. So they were taken over by Babylon. Remember, so the Assyrians took over the north, the south was taken over by Babylon, and then they all were delivered under Cyrus. So that's your ABCs, right? So the next 9 books talk about the pre-exile history. So remember, the first 5 books are the basic law, and the second books are, let me get this. The first 5 books, basic law. Next 9 books, pre-exile history. Remember, 12 tribes, Assyria and Babylon, the righteous kings, unrighteous kings. Got it? Got it. The next 3 books, Ezra, Nehemiah, and Esther, represent the post-exile history. In other words, these are the writers that documented history after the exile. That's why, like in Esther, you don't find any mention of God. And you see the Jews that have been separated, and you see the call to come back. This was after the exile. Remember, my boys, Zerubbabel, you remember all them? That's your post-exile history. So once again, recap, basic law. Not basic in terms of the fact that it wasn't important, basic in terms foundational. Any law, it comes from there. That's why they call it the Torah in Ivrit, in Hebrew. The next 9 books are the books representing the pre-exile history, the books that were taking place before these tribes got into captivity. The next 3 books, the Ezra, Nehemiah, and Esther, were post-exile history books. Okay, so that's our number. We covered 593. So the next 5, Job, Psalm, Proverbs, Ecclesiastes, Song of Solomon, have to deal with inner life. So if you want to know about how to deal with one another, relationships, spouses, how to treat friends, anything that deals with personal life. Should I co-sign? Should I loan this person some money? Should I save some money? Should I fight with this person? Inner life, basic life principle, and we use the word basic not because it's whack, it's basic, it has no substance, but basic in terms of foundational. If you want to know about foundational stuff, life principles, those are the 5 books that you find them in. The next 5 books are these 5 right here, your Isaiah, Jeremiah, Lamentation, Ezekiel. Now, I know we call Daniel, I know we call them major prophets. Got it. But these are your basic or your foundational prophetic books. These are the prophetic books that deal with prophecies, especially concerning this time period. These are your foundational prophetic books. They call them major prophets, not because they were better, but because they did a little more work. That's your foundational prophetic books. Haha. Here's something that's going to jump out at you. This is what you don't know. Hosea, Joel, Amos, Obadiah, all the way up to Zephaniah. These 9, remember our number, we got all the way here. We're at the last 9 right here. These next 9 books were the pre-exile prophecy books. Hold on. In other words, these prophets were prophesying before the exile. Judges, Joshua, all those, that was the historical books, talking about the kings, the secular part, the organization, the country, you could say the secular. Hosea, Joel, Micah, those were the prophets. That's why the Bible can't be chronological exactly, because you got these kings and leaders and stuff that were doing their thing, historically documented, while you had these prophets prophesying during that same time period. Hello. It makes sense now, doesn't it? So the Joshua, Judges, Ruth, all those were the pre-exile historical books. The Hosea, Joel, Amos, all those cats were the pre-exile prophetic books. They were prophesying while those other folk were leading. And then you end up with your post-exile prophetic books that were the Haggai, Zechariah, Malachi, that were the prophets that were prophesying during the time that Ezra, Esther, Nehemiah, that stuff was going on. There's even some mention about the prophets in like Nehemiah and stuff. You'll see Haggai. They're talking about them because they were rolling about the same time. So the pre-exile history books was the history that happened before the exile. And those were the Hosea, Joel, all of them were the prophets that were happening during the same time. The post-exile books, your Ezra, Nehemiah, and Esther, were those historical books that were happening after exile, and the prophets that were prophesying after that exile were the Haggai, Zechariah, and Malachi. Shout out to my nephew Malachi. So that's our number, 593-5593. How is this helpful? All right, Bible, that's a lot of complicated stuff. Somebody asks you, hey, tell me about Obadiah. What you know about Obadiah, man? And you're like, Obadiah, I don't even know nobody named Obadiah. But because you understand this lesson and you'll slow it down, you'll review it, you could say, oh, well, I do know Obadiah was a pre-exile prophet that was prophesying before the exile. And he was prophesying during the time of the Joshua, Judges, Ruth, Samuel's, Kings, Chronicles, the pre-exile history time. Because what had happened was, you had the split between the north and the south, and the northern king tribes were taken over by Assyria, and the southern tribes were taken over by Babylon until they came out under. It sounds like you know what you're talking about. Just because you know the structure. Now you don't have to memorize every book. What you know about Ecclesiastes? Well, because I know the telephone number, I know that Ecclesiastes it deals with inner life. So that was the place in the Bible where it deals with the structure, how people interact with one another, how we get along. It deals with inner life issues. You see, now you sound like a Bible scholar, because you can, hey man, what's up with First Chronicles? No, what's up with Nehemiah? Well, I know Nehemiah was a post-exile historical book. So that had to deal when the people came back from exile, because remember, the Assyrians took over the north, and the southern was taken over by Babylon until they came out under Cyrus. It sounds like you know what you're talking about. And the reason why, you see, your IQ just went up. The reason why is because you know the Old Testament telephone number. It is a formula. It is a structure on how the Bible was designed. It wasn't designed by chance. It wasn't designed by authorship or size. It was designed thematically with a subject matter flow. So now that you know that, you know a lot about the Old Testament just because you know where it falls into the telephone number. We love raising IQs over here. So hopefully you got that. You may have to rewind it, watch it a few times. Good. Press the like button. Subscribe. Press the subscription button. Is it a cost to subscribe? No. Press the subscribe button. It helps with the algorithm. It makes YouTube shoot this video over into different areas where it can be more reached. All right. Hopefully you got it. Any questions, like, subscribe, comment, email me. You have all the information there. And then also join the college. You know, I'm teaching at Long Beach Christian College. So join the college. We do Zoom classes. We go in depth into stuff like this. So anyway, hopefully you got it. Until next time, God bless.